Taking this blindfold off to see what this life's all about. Threw my virtues to the ground, drinking from the devil's cup. Take that pill, drink it down, flashing lights all around. High as hell, drunk like I finally don't give a fuck. 'Cause I'm breaking all the rules tonight. Not going down without a fight. As long as I'm still breathing, doesn't matter how hard you might try. We can take this freedom.
Okay, so hey everybody, hey Drubajati, hey Azimuth, how's it going? Okay, so welcome to the Overpass live stream again today. Okay, first thing you might notice is that the poster fell off the wall behind me. Oh, I got like Wolverine here. So the poster's falling off the wall behind me. Like yesterday, I was all really upset about this bit of code, all right, and I was arguing with the developers about it and everything like that, and I was just like, oh god. It was, you know, it was all hot in the office, and although it's been cooling down the temperature, right? And as I'm in the middle of just being upset, the poster just falls down behind me. And I'm like, oh, it's just one of those days, just one of those days, right? So, but anyway, I need to get some fasteners, put it up again. And like you guys have been saying, some of you guys have been saying out there, I need to just get a new poster because it looked pretty bad. You know, like it's been like to 3 different locations. It was in my loft in my house for like a couple years, and then I brought it to the new office, or the old office, and then the new office, and I just need something new. Also, I apologize, I know it's flickering a little bit. I've been trying to adjust the settings on the webcam for ages and just haven't been able to. Mr. Nettune, what's up? What's up? How are you, Eric? I'm doing all right. Carol, hey, how's it going? Data Plus Code, hey, thanks for showing up. Okay, so yeah, it's been a pretty good week. I don't know what to talk about on the live stream again this week because I don't really come up with a topic for the live streams. But we seem to be doing all right. We seem to be doing okay. So it could be a short live stream, could be long. Who knows? We'll see how many questions we have and what kind of stuff we can talk about. This week, what happened this week? Reached 400 videos. So on the daily video, which is pretty good. Although my biggest thing, I said this on the video, I was most proud of is the fact that I haven't missed a day in the last 100 at least, you know, so it's been trying to keep them coming out on a daily basis. Every so often I'll miss I try to get them to publish at 1 p.m. in UK time, so that's if I get them done in enough time. Sometimes I'm publishing them like late in the afternoon because I still haven't done them yet. And right now I'm a bit far behind on them too. I don't have one for tomorrow done yet. So it's a case because I don't have an editor anymore. And it's making it difficult because we're trying to get everything done so that my designer, she could do a thumbnail for it. We can get everything ready before it actually gets published, but you know, it's just sometimes it just gets away from me. So, Paraj, hey, how's it going? Chord Funk, hello, Chord Funk, how are you doing? So that was a big thing, that episode 400, and then like today I spent the whole day. You know, I've been. It seems like I'm so busy with clients and client work that I've been. Like I haven't been able to work on my own apps. There's going to this meeting, to that meeting, and everything like that, and working on client projects. That today I just decided I'm just going to work on these apps that I've taken off the ones that I've taken off the App Store because of GDPR, and then I put the Apodil stuff in there, and then the rankings just went way down because everyone hated the Apodil forms. So I finally got to the point where I put in my own custom forms and uploading them all today, which took a while, but it was like with the help with Fastlane, it wasn't so bad. So that was pretty good. And let's see, and also the World Cup was this weekend. So I did watch the England game on Wednesday night, which was pretty good. They didn't make, but that was like a really big thing around here. And also, I wrote down a note here which I can't read. So that's kind of the stuff going. Drubajati says, hey, Eric, I have a question for you. How you treat your developers or designers? I treat them with an iron fist. Thanks for asking. They fear and quake at the sound of my voice, right? With you guys, I'm all nice and smiling and everything. With them, like, so no, I think I treat them all right. Okay, right? Well, because I'm a developer myself, I'm not the kind of person, and this is probably a flaw in terms of project management and everything. I don't tell them how long something should take. I ask them how long it should take. So like as a developer, so I would ask a developer, okay, this is what I need done. How long do you think this is going to take you to do? And if they give me a time scale, I'll even say sometimes, I don't think that's enough time. I think you need a bit more time for that. And then when they give it to me, and then if they miss that deadline, then then we do get arguments and everything like that. But I usually am very much, I would rather they do good work because they give themselves enough time. And that's something that has to do with quoting. Sometimes you'll have people who, oh, sorry about that. Let me just turn that off. So that's it. So that's, I treat them all right. Let's see. Carol says, could you revisit my Play Store page? Tried to follow your tips from last time. It's chessboard offline 2-player free chess app. Yep, sure, we'll have a look at that. Parash Bot says client work is sometimes a headache. Yes, it is, Parash. It is sometimes. Sometimes it can be a real headache, and it's so much nicer to work on your own stuff. Mainly because you make those decisions and everything. Like if you mess up something, you're like, oh man, I better fix that, right? It's not like you don't beat yourself up about it, but like if you're doing something for a client, it's like something else. It's almost like if you have your own car and then you like, let's say you back into something like a post or something, and you put a little dent in the car. If it's your car, you're like, oh, I can't believe I did that. Oh, it's like, well, at least it's my car now, right? But if you're somebody else's, then you're like, first of all, you're beating yourself up inside, and sometimes they may be beating you up too. So I think it's just different working on somebody's app and everything like that. Abdul Gafar Rioja says, hey, Eric, is it okay to learn code from Stack Overflow, or must we read all the documentation before getting started? That's a good question, because I happen to believe, I humbly believe that that reading a book is like, a lot of people don't understand the importance of it. So like if you go from one language to another, a lot of the times your impulse is to I'll just find what I need to do and do that. So I need to connect a database. I need to show a button. From that button needs to go to this page. So you're just like, you get this patchy thing just based on what you need to do. And then a lot of times what you do is you leave out things that are in the architecture that, like error handling, for example, or logging. There's certain things that certain languages make really useful because it's there, right? So to give you an example, I remember once was brought in on this contract. I'm sorry, I know I tell you, I go into too much of my, back when I was a young boy, so I was like on my first contract, I went into this, it was like an ASP, it wasn't even ASP.NET, it was ASP page, and I went in and looked at this project, and the guy, the project I'd taken over, he just had to pick a random record from a database, right? So it was like the database had a table of images, so it was like for the BBC, and they had a bunch of program images, and he just had to take a random one from the 2,000 images. So what he did was he opened up a record set, looped through all of them to get a count of how many there are. Then he did the function to get the random number between 1 and that number, and then he would select that one based on the ID based on that. So he had like several database queries were happening here, and all he needed to do was say select select top one, ordered by random, right? It was just like one little thing, but because he was seeing different problems. And sometimes if you read through the documentation or read through the tutorials and everything, you get like a more rounded picture of it. But sometimes you do just have to go in there and just find certain things. So I think you can learn from Stack Overflow. I just think if you learn from someone, and that's what a book is. That's what a course is. It's somebody taking you from zero to proficient, and they're saying this is why you should do this. This is why you should do that. Because if you're just hunting and pecking, there may be things you don't even know about, and that's sometimes where you do that. So let's see. Data Plus Code says the screenshots are much better on. Oh yeah. Let's look at the chessboard app. Let's do that. Sorry, you guys are all jumping ahead looking at it. Let me just move this over here. So I just sort of was going to come back to that one, but let's have a look. So sorry, Carol VDW. Let me just share my screen. And this is for Google Play, right? First of all, I like the title. Okay, I might be... I was just trying to do it based on that. Okay. Is that the one? That's not it, is it? Let's see. Okay, which one am I looking at? Is it 2-player? Oh, that is it. Sorry, Carol, is that the one? Is that the one we're looking at? Let's see. Carol, sorry guys, I'm sorry the pauses here while I'm trying to figure this out. I can see the wheels turning. Yeah, it must be this one. Offline 2-player chessboard app. So, I'm assuming this is it. Oh, I like this. I like the nice big play chess without a chessboard. I think the screenshots look much better than they did before. I think it looks good. I like the contrasting yellow too. So I think before, if I remember correctly, it was just black and white, right? So and you got the yellow in the icon. I'm still not sure if I like the icon so much here. Just maybe have a bit more depth, but maybe just because I think there's too much when it's like small, it might be too much there on the screen. But that's just my opinion. I think it doesn't. So Carol VDW, how has it changed in terms of downloads now that you've done that? So you've got a bit more. So let's have a look at the description here. Chessboard. Chessboard is a way for play chess with off screen. So now I think the screenshots look a lot better. Let's see. Parashbot. So we'll come back to that. So Carol will come back to that one. I hope you guys can hear me okay. Parashbot says, Yo, can you take a look at our app, Doctorify, Doctor's Voice Assistant? Let's have a look at that one. Let's do it on a new tab in case we need to come back to that one. Play.google.com. Doctorify. Oh. Doctor's Voice Assistant. Let's see. Avoid write. So okay, cool. So it's nice and very. Avoid writing any prescription record. Easy to set up. I like the way that it says. It's very simple. It's very clear about what it does. Doctorify, Doctor's Voice Assistant. Cool. You got the markdown. Is it markdown that you put in here? This is something I'm not doing. I don't have like bold text in my descriptions, and it's something that I need to start doing because I don't. Either you didn't used to be able to do it, or it's never been clear to me how to do it. I assume it's markdown. And then the icon. The icon looks good. I don't know. How is the icon doing? I'm curious about this. Is that I don't know if that's if it's the kind of thing that will stand out at you, or if it's the kind of thing that wouldn't stand out at you. I'm just trying to think if that's. But I've been interesting to see how it works with that, because you have in the application here you've got this cartoony type of look, but this looks very much like a 3D model, so I mean, how's that doing, Prush, in terms of when you change that? Mega Man is 12. Hello. Let's see. Drubajati says, Eric, I know you nowadays you being busy in developing construction company apps. Can you describe what kind of projects you're working on, just as an idea, not full? So what? Yeah, somebody asked me about the construction company. That's just happens to be something that we're dealing with lately in terms of like a client segment. So we're not doing anything specifically that's construction company. And I did answer that in one of the in the comments, because when I say that, it sounds like it's something for the App Store, but it isn't. It's more like an app, like an internal enterprise app. So something that they can use with their own system. So they have their own APIs and their own backend systems, or maybe they don't. Some of them will use Dropbox as a backend. So like they can go through, and rather than have a clipboard and a piece of paper, they could go through and load up their maps and do everything like that, and everything on an application, and save it remotely, right? So it's used internally, which is so much less pressure than putting something on the App Store. Not because putting something on the App Store is difficult, but it's difficult for them, and they're all stressed out about, you know, how we get people to download it and everything. And if it's like an internal enterprise app, you don't have to worry about that, because they could just, you know, they force their people to use it and everything. So that's kind of cool. Educate TV. Hey Eric. Hey, how's it going? Jekron. Hey Eric, how's it going with your Apple deal in your app? I took Apple deal out like within days after I installed it in my app. I didn't see any benefit from it. All I got was just headaches from it, and I did remove it. So I finally put so yeah, that was just me. I mean, it was something about it. Every time I would go into Appadeal to see how they were doing, like after I put those that stupid consent form that they supplied in there, then I wasn't seeing anything coming through the Appadeal servers, and I was like, either it's the lag time is far too long for me to really be able to respond to it, or it wasn't working at all, or something. So I just ended up removing it, and I unpublished them all from the store again. And then it was only today that I republished a lot of them. So I'm going through and putting in the just straight add mob again. So putting in the has consent variable. So I'm using so these particular apps are in Corona SDK. So I'm doing them. So I was always using the old add mob plugin for that. So now I'm using the new one, which costs like $200 a year. So I'm using that. Like, hopefully I'll make that back. But so at least it has the has consent and a variable there and everything like that. So let's see. Cool. So, oh, Rodrigo, late to the party. Yes, you are. Yes, you are late to the party. Let's see. Proshbot says, I've got designers if you want to get UI icon designs. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I think having a good designer on your team is just so important. And it's hard. I was trying to find designers through Upwork before, and occasionally I would find some good ones, and then I'd come back to them. They're too busy, or I find some who could do the icon, but they can't do sprites and things like that. So, let's see, mixed reactions. Let's see. So yeah, they want to stand out. Is that the icon brush? You want it to stand out? Yeah, I think it does. It does stand out. I'm just wondering. Let's go. Let's see. Doctors. I'm just going to do a search on Doctor's Assistant. Let's see this against some of these other ones. Assistant. Okay, yeah. So there it is. I guess it does, but it's right next to this guy. This guy, like, this is still in your thunder here. This one right here. All the rest of them kind of. You got clip art lady. You got, you know, clip art or, you know, stock image lady, clip art syringe. Yeah. See how it goes. Try some different ones. I think that one just looks. Well, that's like obviously a game, but cool. Let's see. Really, you got okay? Oh, thanks. So, Rodrigo, you could put I didn't see. I had no idea you could put normal HTML in there. At least, unless it's something that's new. I've always just had very straight text in the thing. So, yeah. So Mr. Net2 thinks the woman in the first one should be the icon. I agree with that. Yeah, I think that she should be the icon. What software do you use for designing mockups? We use Adobe XD. We just recently started using Adobe XD, so that works pretty. I was just about to demo it to you, but then I want to end up showing you a client project, which probably wouldn't go over well with the client. So yeah, we use XD, and then I still use Balsamic from time to time, like, because just Balsamic is the one that I just know where everything is. Like, it's just also I'll do everything. A lot of times I'll do it in Balsamic first. So usually when I meet with a client, I met with a client yesterday, a new prospect, and usually it's like I have a pad of paper with me. Every so often I forget to bring my notebook, and I just like a pen and a notebook, and I'll just sketch out some design. Say, okay, you go to here, you click on this, do this, and just some really basic wireframes, like just scribble on a piece of paper. And then I would come back to the office, and then I'll put them into Balsamic, and then I'll give them to my designer, and she's the one who does the XD stuff. So even then, I'm not really good with XD. You know, I haven't really quite learned it too well, but that's how everything starts, right? It's just sketching out some designs and, you know, scribbling it down on a piece of paper and going through that. Now, I do have an Apple Pencil, and I always have my iPad with me, but there's something about bringing the Apple Pencil out in a meeting with other people that I just feel like such a tool doing it. Like, it's a really cool device. It's a really cool tool, but every time you bring it out, everybody makes such a big deal of it that I just use pen and paper. So it's just, you know, it's just one of these things. Like, it's like the same reason, like, if Google Glass ever took off, I would never wear it, because every time you wear it, somebody would have to make a comment about it. It wasn't like you just blend in. Oh yeah. Oh, what, this pencil? Oh yeah, yeah. It's just a thing. You know, yeah, just nothing. Never. Everything. Ooh, how does it work? Everything like that. It's not like, hey, look, let's get back on topic. So that's why I don't use the Apple Pencil so much in meetings anymore, and hopefully that won't be the case anymore. Rodrigo says, that has worked ever since, but I was also surprised the first time I saw it. There's only a few HTML tags that work. Yeah, I'm gonna have to try that out. Drupajati says, I want to ask a very important question. When developing an app or a website in PHP and using API, should we do the back-end logic in front-end, or should it be done in back-end? Who developed the... Are you talking about the API works for the website as well as mobile apps? So you're talking about, should the same developer do the front-end and the back-end? See, this is something I've talked about before. I think it's faster if the one developer does both sides of it, but it's also... Like, if you had two separate developers, one doing the front end and one doing the back end, your documentation is going to be a lot better. So like, if you ever had to swap one of them out, you don't like say if you do the front end and the back end, you might cheat a little bit, like by sending certain things back to the server which don't belong there. A good example of this, and this is something that in the course of my career, I've tried to do it in the early days. I've seen other people do it, and it's just something that you just... like everyone has to try at some point, like on the website, is trying to put HTML inside the database. Like, they think, we'll just put HTML inside there, or we'll put XML inside this database column, whatever, right? Which doesn't work because you can't write reports on it, and it's really just like a hack. It's a way to just, you take something that doesn't belong there. So a lot of times, like when you have the model view controller type of thing, there's certain things that don't belong in the controller, and there's certain things that they belong in the view. There's certain things that don't belong in the database and everything like that. And when you're like the one developer across the whole way, every so often you can cheat and just say, I'll just send this over there. I'll just, you know, this should go through the middle tier, but you know, I just can't be bothered, so I'm just going to write this little thing there. So if you have two different developers and one of them is dependent on the other, first of all, you know that API documentation is going to be good because it has to be understood by the front end developer, unless they're like best friends and they work together or something, which is, you know, but if they're completely remote, then at least you have that going forward. So that's you know, at least that's my opinion on it. Let's see if that was your question. Let's see, Mr. White. Hello, Mr. White. Chord Funk. Have you ever A/B tested pricing? No, I haven't. I've never have. But I will do it where I'll change the price and just see what happens. So for like over the course of a few days. So like a lot of people will, and I've done this too, where we say, we'll have a sale. So like for the next month, we'll make the app cheaper. But most of the time, doesn't really, like for my apps, it doesn't really make a difference, because the people who come to the App Store page, it's like their first time to the page. Like, they don't know if it's a sale or not. I could be like those shops that always have a sale, like just always say it's on sale today, but I don't bother with that every so often. So sometimes I'll raise it, sometimes I'll lower it and just see how it does. And but the problem is it takes a while to really see the effects of it. So, you know, you have to leave it going, and then you also have to remember that you set it that way. So I think I set, like for EarSpy Pro, I think I set the India price to like 10 cents or something. Like, it was like the lowest price I could do just to see what happened. It might still be on that price actually, because I thought I'll see what happens, and then you just kind of forget. You forget that you've done it, and then you never go back and change it back the way it was. Let's see. Eric, what's your opinion on documentation, commenting the code? I think it's very important. And do you ask your devs to do it? Yeah, I do. I think. Yeah, I definitely do go in there and say commenting it. Not so much the code, but sometimes I need documentation. I need a flow chart to see how things work. Because if I go in and try to see what's going on and I can't figure it out, I mean, without having to set stack traces and console.logs or anything like that, then that's like, I don't see that as being very, very viable, right? But I think but in terms of like, I want to see an architecture diagram, like, what does the app connect? So like, we have one that connects with an API, and it also uses Firebase. So like the app was like, I know that we're connecting with Firebase directly in one area, and sometimes we're doing the API, and like looking through the code, I couldn't tell which one was going through which. I mean, I could if I was like, if I ran it locally and I spent a couple hours doing it, but that's not, yeah, that's why we have documentation, because I shouldn't have to be doing that. I shouldn't have to be going and then retracing the steps of the developer. So yeah, I do. I don't ask, I'm not as insistent on it as I should be, not as much as people have been with me in the past, but it's something that I do. Dubrajati says, can you search patient MD in the store and give your comments? All right, let's do this. Patient MD. Okay, let's see. We got 3 versions of the app here. That's good. So we got the screenshots, which are just the screenshots. Yeah, I think it. I think this would be good for by having something to say, saying what it does. I mean, I know it's patient MD patient. Hang on, what is the other 2 over here? Were patient MD patient MD business, and patient MD doctor. So I assume these are all the same application, but you have them spread out for different users. Is that right? So if I go into patient MD patient, a private and secure and socially responsible platform designed to health worldwide, patient-centered and patient-empowered industry. So I think, yeah, you've got plenty of keywords here in the first paragraph, but I think the screenshots would be good. Having a video would obviously be good, and maybe just something that, I mean, you have a bit more room in the title to do something with. You could put something more in that. That's just my opinion. You know what I mean? But if you play around with it, so like if we do a search on patient, just to see where it shows up. So we got patient MD patient. We have it twice in there, and we've got. Okay, so I don't see it in there. So let's go into App Annie. So let's have a quick look at this. Patient MD, let's do patient MD patient. And I'm just going to pick that one because that seems like the one meant for the mass audience. We go down to keywords ASO. But yeah, I think that the screenshots are the things that most people will get. So patient appointment, you rank 26th in, so we're looking at the UK. Let's look at US. Actually, yeah, maybe tell me what the target market is. So patient, oh, rank number 13 is patient in the US. That's not bad, but not in the UK. Let's see, healthcare news. Let's see, patient MD appointment. Let's go back to UK here and have a look at it real quick. Patient appointment rank 26, EHR. So yeah, that's not too much here. But let's have a look at. It looked like it was. Let's look at India. Healthcare news 59. Yeah, so it's more down there. Of course, I'm looking. So I'm looking at, actually what I'm doing is I'm looking at the iPhone version. So we're looking at 2 different ones. Let's look at the. Let's go back and look at the Android version. So, I mean, so if we have a look, I mean, let me know, how is it doing in terms of how's it doing in terms of Android versus iOS download. So let's go to Google Play, patient MD patient, and now let's go to ASO. And what have we got? Let's see. So here we've got patient app number 44. 40, looking at UK again. UK for me is not a very big market. It's still the US. It defaults to UK because I'm in the UK, but for me the US always looks better. So healthy deals. So yeah, it seems like you're doing pretty well on iOS, but I mean patient for the keyword patient. But not on Google Play. So Dubajati, I mean, I'm assuming this is your app, or that's just one that you're interested in. Like, you know, I'd be interested to see how the 2 of them compare. Let's see. Angelo Gasparini says, "Hey Eric, can you take a look at my game on Google Play Store? Named Battlegrounds Fire Royale." Let's have a look. Battlegrounds Fire Royale. Is that Black Tea Studios? I'm gonna assume this is the one. Let's see. Okay, cool. Free Fortnite. Are you allowed to do that? Is it? Are you allowed to use another app name in your thing if it's not actually Fortnite? If it's like a Fortnite, because I can understand like if in the description you say, if you like Fortnite, you love this, but that still might get you into some trouble there. But I'm trying to think if I've ever had any trouble like that, or if I just heard of other people do it. Because I've done that where I've tried to use like, so for my language games, I would try to use Duolingo, but I didn't want to use Duolingo because I didn't want to get in trouble for using their brand or whatever. So I would use the word duo and then lingo, like it's separate places, which is hard, like the dynamic duo, if you know the lingo or whatever. It was just like, it was like really tacky, and I don't think it really helped me any. So like, so if you search for Duolingo, that would come up. But he says Fortnite, not. Oh yeah, you do say Fortnite. Yeah, so you actually, okay. So you're misspelling it on purpose. Let's see. Let's see. And another thing, yeah, Angela, I would say that if you have some gameplay, because this looks like it would be interesting to see a video of. You know, for like a gameplay with some music, and just to show a little bit about what it does. Because I'm trying to think about the person who would get to this. So they would type Fortnite. Actually, let's do a search on Fortnite, because I'm curious about that. If we do a search on Fortnite, can you actually use Fortnite if you're not Fortnite? Apps, companion for Fortnite, FortScan, Fortnite sounds. Now let's do a search on Fortnite, which I didn't even notice that misspelling. Let's see. Fortnite still comes up with, but not Battlegrounds. Fire Royale. So yeah, I would say, I mean, everyone else jump in here too, but I would say that if you had something here with like what it does, and a video would go really, really well on this page, I think. So let's have a look at your game. This is one thing too. I mean, I know this is not the question you asked, but this is something I was thinking about earlier today. So like, I mean, how many of you guys are actually using the developer page on here? So let's go to let's see if I remember when I did this one. So if I go into mine, and if I click on my Google Play, so for me, I try to keyword optimize the title of the company too. So rather than just Overpass apps, I called it Overpass Superhuman Apps and Games, right? And then so, which is not the name of the company. And I always know that if I get spam, because I say, "Hey Eric, I thought I would reach," or so, nah. "Hey, dear sir, I thought I would reach out to Overpass App, Superhuman Apps and Games," right? And I know that they just scraped the Google Play Store and everything like that. But if you go here, we're actually using the developer title, so we have the full thing, and then the featured apps, and then all the other apps and stuff like that, which is something to think about. Again, it's not gonna have any relation to the. I don't think it's gonna have any relation to the. To the findability of your app, but if one of your apps does take off and you want them to find other stuff, you could always go through and do that. So I'm just curious as to how many of you guys are actually using that. Let's see. Let's see. My question, since we are using the API, oh sorry, Drupajati, so going back to that one, since we're using the API in all the platforms, Android, iOS, and web, don't you think most of the API does most of the work should be done in the API, since the three platforms using the same API? Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you could do, it's all about performance. So so I think what you're asking here is, should you move most of the code into the API if you're using Android, web, and iOS? And the answer to that is yes, unless it impacts the performance. So like you're talking about the network traffic going back and forth. So like, to give you, like if I had most of the stuff going on the server, then there might be some latency going, and then it doesn't work offline. So which sometimes you can't help it. So like if you do stuff like the text-to-speech on Google, right, that has to happen on the server, so you have to send them the text and then you get back the speech files and then you read it, right? But so you can't do that locally, I don't think. Yeah, I wouldn't see how you could do that because there's so much processing that has to happen in order for that to happen. But other things, like if you have like a calculation happening, like if it's like a complex calculation, you should still probably do that on the local client just because it would be faster than doing it, doing it in the cloud. I mean, it depends on how much, it really depends on how much processing is done, I guess. So let's see. And Drew Bajati says, yes, yes, Eric. I used to work for that company, Patient MD, and they were pretty good in the U.S. and India. Cool. Let's see. Yeah. Rodrigo was saying brands can copy strike your app if you have not, if you have a trademark on your name. Yeah. Happened to me. Remember? Oh yeah, that's right. It did happen to you. Rodrigo, did happen to you. What was it that was saying? Was it Instagram? Yeah, it was Insta. You had Insta. That's right. You had Insta, I think, in a title. You didn't even have Instagram. You said Insta, and they jumped out against you. Let's see. Angelo says, thanks, sir. Hey, no problem. But again, Angelo, I'm not an expert. It's just my opinion and the opinions of the rest of us. So, check out the rest of it and try different things. I think the Fortnite thing might get you in trouble just, if, just going forward, but yeah, I don't think you should do it. Parash says TTS is available offline. Is it? Okay, so okay, cool. I didn't realize. I think every time I've used TTS, I wasn't using it through native platforms, so I was sending it over to things. So that's cool. Cord Funk said when Pokemon Go was a thing, there was a lot of people getting in trouble for infringing on their copyrights when they used Pokemon or something similar in the title. Yeah, no, I think there's I think there's something. So like when we went through and looked at I did a search on Fortnite. Let's go share my screen here again. Oops. So I did a search on Fortnite. I mean, some people do use it, and companion for Fortnite and all this stuff. And let's see, this guy, where's he? Is he using it anywhere in here? Let's see. Now, if you could get people to leave a review with that keyword in it, that would probably be fine because it's, it's not you doing it, but that would be kind of hard to do. So yeah, a lot of people doing it. See, when I first got into the app development, like I said, I joined a mastermind group, and there were a lot of people that were developers. Oh, they weren't developers. They were like business people. They were entrepreneurs. I was a developer. They were entrepreneurs, and they would do these like a bunch of like factories of apps. So they just put all these apps out there, and it was all like the Walking Dead quiz, and it was all like something using other brands and everything like that. And for some reason, they could get away with it on iOS. Like iOS, was at one point just seemed to be accepting everything, and and Google Play, it's just started to crack down on that. Now it's it's different depending on how you do it. And I think it does. I think it's right. It would be somebody who actually lodges a complaint. So like you might be able to get away with it, but at some point somebody would. Like, and I talk about this in so many videos. But if I type in ear spy, every so often I go through, and it's been months since I've gone through and done this, but I'll go through and just say, I need to report this guy, I need to report this guy, I need to report this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. Not so much because it's a similar idea, but because I think they're trying to infringe on the copyright of the intellectual property of it. So that's obviously not. So if it was something that was similar, I could understand. But if it's something that's like trying to actually make it look like it's mine, and confuse people, then it might. So if I do get any word of mouth where someone says, hey, you should try this app, and then somebody goes to the searches and they come up with this one first, and they get a different experience. They're not even going through the same thing and everything too. So I'm not even sharing my screen. So yeah, let me share my screen. So like, yeah, let me do that again. So this, when I type in ear spy, you get all these guys here, and some of these guys I need to go through and report them, because not so much because they have a similar idea, because the similar idea is fine. You got Coke, you got Pepsi, whatever, but they're actually trying to confuse people as to this is mine, and if I get any word of mouth, then I don't want people to go to the other app because they did a bad search or something. So sorry about that. Let's see. Midnight Game Developer, is your battle royale game a multiplayer? Yeah, is it? Let's go back to battle. Let's see. Mr. Neptune says, bringing up your PUBG mobile MAO. What does that mean? PUBG. Oh, PUBG is one of the most played games. Let's see. Dubajati says, Eric, we do most of the processing of the logic in the front end, Android, iOS, and web, but it makes 3 platforms, guys, to work on the same logic, which takes time. That's true. Don't you think if it was done in the API level? It depends. Like I said, it depends on internet traffic. It depends on what's necessary to do in terms of how much. The nice thing about having apps distributed is that you have lots of different nodes doing calculations and doing the processing on their side. If you bring everything into a central server, even if it's a cloud-based server, you're going to have some sort of latency there. Especially, it depends on, you have to start thinking about how many can you handle per second, how many transactions per second, everything like that. You're going to look at, is the server beefy enough and everything like that too. Where if you just had like a really light API, which all it did was take things, store it in the database, and retrieve it, then you move the business logic to the client, then that might be easier because you get away with having a smaller central server. But it depends. It really depends on how much processing and stuff you got to do there. So cool. So have I missed? I haven't missed any questions here, have I? Oh, Midnight. I have. I missed a huge bit. The Midnight Game Developer. Midnight Game Developer says, why you remove the Overpass apps banner behind you? It fell down yesterday. So yesterday I'm all stressed out. I was just stressed out about something. Right, I'm just sitting here and it just I just hear this slump behind me and I look and my posters fall off the wall. So I need to get a new one. I need to do something back there. So it's just it was almost poetic in a way because I was stressing about something. It was like it was this one app where. So what happened was we put like a bunch of, we were using Firebase and we used Firebase storage for some images. So we put all the images in Firebase storage. However, once we started to go live with it, right, we realized that the Firebase storage had like really low usage limits. Like even going to the Flame version of it, it was like, that's not going to work. So I was stressing out about it. So I got to move all of these images from, and it was like a few hundred images from Firebase into, we would use AWS. So I thought, I'm going to do this. I'm thinking in my mind, I was getting all mad about this. And then as I'm doing it, I'm getting all mad. And then the poster falls down behind me and I'm just like, I just need to calm down. I think my affecting the environment around me. In the end, I ended up doing it in a couple hours last night because unlike a mere mortal, we are developers, and I just wrote a Node.js script which would go through and loop through all of those images in Firebase, and for each one of them it would download it to my local machine and then upload it to AWS and copy that URL back and send it back. So that was able to do that and run it in just a couple of hours as opposed to the several days I thought it would be if I did it manually. So that was kind of cool. But so that's why I think learning scripting is always cool, and Node.js is probably my favorite thing to do. In fact, that was like I was all upset in the morning. I went home and had dinner, and I was sitting there. And I thought, hey, you know what? I think I could do this. And it was fun. Every so often you get that bit of code that's just fun to do. Like you're like just solving a problem. You're like, oh man, I could do this. So you're just coding away, and it's everything's clicking. And it was like last night, like at 10 o'clock, I'm here in the office. All right, and there's nobody phoning. There's no problems. Like I've just turned the email off, and I just gone through it, and it was fun. So let's see. Let's see. If I missed some questions here. Cordfunk says, if your app is taking input and doing some calculations on the input, real-time latency will be a problem. Yeah, I think so too. Parashbot says, how much of your development time do you devote to UX, UI, and the design of your apps? I think a mobile app design has a stunning look and feel is a result of an efficient user experience and user interface design. Today, all well-known mobile applications are coherently built by putting UI/UX design into consideration. I think so too. I think that the UX and the UI is probably the most important part. And it's like, I once worked at a place where I had a boss who told me that, like, he said that the way that the database, so we had the backend database, which was done in like Informix, it was like really old, right? I was like, can we move to SQL Server? No, Informix is perfectly fine. It was like, so it was Informix, and the IT director told me that the database should dictate the UI. So like he was like saying you should be able to look at the database and know how the UI should do it. And I was completely opposite. I was like, I argued with him. I said, no, the UI should be the most efficient, and then the API should be done. So it doesn't matter how data is stored. It should be stored the most efficient way possible. Having no idea of what the UI looks like, and the UI should be the UI. And if you could walk through the UI with wireframes, whatever, you start thinking about the user experience, right? And I think a lot of the times I have problems, like a client will ask me something, can we do this? And I'm sitting there going, and they think, yeah, I'm sitting there thinking about it like, and they think that's like a technical problem, because they're saying, couldn't you just add another field to, like, they're just, depending on the level of difficulty. And I'm saying, no, it's just, I don't know where that button will go, right? I don't want to mess up. Everything is so well proportioned that I don't want to put an ugly button here that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't, like, it was just going to confuse people, right? And for me, like, a lot of times is when I have a problem, it's not that so much that it's a technical issue. It's like, I just want to think about where the thing's going to go. And I could just be like I don't care, like, where you tell me where to go. But then there's another part saying, as a professional, we have to do things not just what the client wants, but what we have to, like, if we disagree with something, we have to be able to tell them. So let's see. Going back to Dubajati's. Thanks, Eric, to answer every question. I'm going to share this video with our CEO in the USA. Hello, CEO in the USA. See, KP, which stands for Kitchen Patrol. So KP says, how much can I earn using AdMob banner ads with 3,000 daily active users when 85% of my users from the UK average time spent, oh, it's like a math problem. Average time spent per user is 5 minutes. It depends on the RPMs that you get. So let's say the banner ads don't pay very well, right? So you're talking about, to look at this, yeah, I mean, if you create banner ads on your own KP, you'll see that some people, you can either do it based on impression or based on clicks. So if it's based on clicks, then it's the clicks that are going to make the difference, right? If it's based on impression, then you have to have a lot of impressions, like per the 1,000, so that you get paid for. So like if it's like, so let's say if it's $1 per $1 RPM, then you need to have 1,000 impressions to make $1, which is a lot. But if it's per click, then if somebody clicks on it, then you'll get part of that. So it really is, it's difficult to calculate beforehand based on that. So, oh, Mr. Nettoon answered that. Depends on how many sessions you have per user, and also make sure you have your rotations and everything right, and everything. So Rodrigo says, I love scripting. Node is the best. I love coming in and doing Node. I love doing the callbacks, the promises, everything like that. And you're just like, I'm gonna focus on this problem and then this, the functions and everything. And I have a piece of code, even though it was just like one task, I may never have to use that ever again, but it was still fun to write that, as opposed to just doing the manual. Like, sometimes it's better to spend 2 hours doing something that's just really cool, that even if it would have taken you 1 hour to do it manually, just because I think it keeps your brain keeps your brain fresh. Let's see. Banner has refresh rate 3 seconds. So CPM 1 would be $50. Okay, so Drupajati says, but yes, Eric, we do most of the processing since the API guy doesn't do much work. But it's the work done in one place. API would be much easier in Android dev. What's your thought? I agree with that. I agree it would be easier, but would it be the most efficient? So it depends on how much processing it is. So if it's just something where you're just displaying data, then that's one thing. But if it's something like where you have like a complex calculation, let's say you have something that you have a list of 1,000 items, and then for every item you have to go through and perform a calculation based on that. And so let's say it's a ranking. Let's say like a ranking. So You have whenever somebody moves up in the rank, you have to recalculate all the ranks going down. So you have to have all of that happening. If you did that on the client, that processing would only happen on the client. But if you did it on the server, that would have to happen for all users. And if everybody shared the same ranking, that would be different. But if everybody had their own individual ranking, let's say you're ranking your friends, right? If you did everything on the server, then you would the server would have to rank all of your friends at the same run. 10,000 other users or whatever, 100 users that you happen to have coming in at the moment, that would all have to happen on the API, and that would cause the CPU to spike and everything like that. So if you have, and you'd have to have web workers, and so you have web workers and threads and everything, and basically you would be trying to duplicate what you would have by having it distributed among many machines, which you already had before because it was already on the mobile device, right? It was already distributed. So it depends on what we're talking about. We're talking about that kind of stuff. Let's see. Hassan says, tell me AdMob alternative. App11. Yeah, it was easy. Facebook Audience Network. There's lots of alternatives. I find AdMob works the best for me, but it's been a while since I've tried anything new. And that's, I probably should, but every time I've tried something else, it's just been a headache. I get emails constantly from like Ogre and other ad networks saying, hey, join our ad network, you'll get guaranteed $12 eCPMs or whatever. And I'll say, okay, is it global? And they'll say, well, it's mostly the UK and Spain or something like that. And I'll say, well, that's like a small portion. For me to put that into my app, I need something that's global, because most of my users are in the US or in Brazil or whatever happens to be the big place at the time. So there's lots of different ones there. Suyog says, hi. Hey. Parash Bot says, Eric, does your AdMob have native advanced ads? No, not yet. I've never used native ads. They're in early beta and have been since months. I still have to use banner and interstitials. Banners have low CPM and interstitials are annoying. Yeah, interstitials are annoying, right? And banners, I still have banners, right? And I thought about replacing them with native ads. I think native ads would be good for an app that was more list-based, like if you had like a Twitter stream or something like that. But I have not used native ads. And if somebody told me, oh, the CPM is much better on it, or it's a much better adoption rate or anything like that, and the only people who have told me that have been AdMob, and they're kind of like biased. They want people to use a new thing. So, but I haven't heard another developer tell me that. So, but that's just me. So if anybody out there says, hey, Eric, I use native ads, and I tell you what, it's changed my life. Oh my God. I used to be poor and desolate, and now I use native ads, and look at my Lamborghini in the driveway. If somebody tells me that, then I'll be like, oh, man, I'm going to put some native ads in there. But I haven't heard anybody say that yet. And I know that's exaggerating, but nobody's ever really told me that things have really taken off based on that. So Burton Dev says, can you please talk about fonts licensing? Oh, God, yeah, let's talk about that. For mobile apps, it can cost hundreds of dollars just to license one font. They're almost 10 times the price of a desktop or web license. Yes, absolutely. We've done that a few times where we've had, where we have clients come to us and say we want to use Gotham font, for example, right? And we look at it, it's like that's like $200 to license the font. And what gets me is I think most people don't care, right? They'll just put it in there, and I'm thinking, but you need to pay for the license. So what we've done is we go onto certain websites where you could, there's one website, I can't remember the name of it, where there was like a guy who created all these fonts, and he just asked for a donation, and I would like give him a donation saying, it's $20 or something, and he would say, he send me an email saying you have perpetual use of this license for this font. So he's basically done it himself, and I think that kind of covers me in terms of that. But yeah, you do have to watch that. And there's other things too, like in Corona, there's a program called Glyphs, whatever was it? What is it called? Glyph Designer. So I use one called Glyph Designer, which you can go through, and it creates the glyphs of the images. So the images of the font. So like that's a thing with a font. If it's not dynamic text, so like you have a banner, you can just do it in Photoshop, save it as an image, and you're not distributing the font. But if you need to distribute the font with the app, that could be really expensive. So there's other ways to do it. Like Glyph Designer was one that I use. Let me just share my screen here real quick. So let me just share my screen in a minute. Just one moment. Okay, oops. So there's a program here called Glyph Designer. So, and this is one for Corona where you could go through and basically load a font and it will generate these images, and it's like almost creates like a sprite sheet that you can use within it. And that's something for Corona that I use for Corona. I think you can use it for other programs too, and you export it. But there may be other things like there too. But when it comes to actually doing fonts, like distributing like a TTF file, that can get really expensive. So let's see, what else do we have here? Suyog says, which PC do you use? I use a Mac, and I've used a PC. I've been a PC user for years. I'm not a big Mac fan. I'm just, but I do have so the only reason I use the Mac is for the iPhone development, and I had to get used to it all and everything, which is kind of a pain. Hassan says, how do you improve organic downloads on an app? There's lots of different ways. That was such a big question. So you could do it through ASO, getting people to find it. If you have an app that's doing well, you could get, try to do cross promotion to get other people into that app. There's lots of things there. So yeah, there's lots of things there. So I mean, it's such a broad topic. Let's see. Chordfunk said, what are native ads? Native ads are ads that are like show up in the text. So rather than be like on top of it, like on top of it, it's like banners and interstitials, you could actually like embed it. So like in the middle of a paragraph, you can have a native ad, almost like in websites how you see ads in the middle of a paragraph. Suyog says, how to test on different Android devices, which emulator do you recommend? Good question. I use, whenever I do emulator work, so I have a bunch of devices here, but I mean, that gets expensive. There's only so much you can do, and there's other things out there like where you upload the app and you could do that. So, well, I use one called Genymotion. Let me just see if I can find this here. Just a second. So Genymotion is one that, so you have the Android, the ADB one that comes in, and there's one called Genymotion. Just a second here. Let me just tell this person, tell my. Just a second. Okay. So Genymotion here is one that I use, which is, I find it to be a lot nicer experience. There's certain things, like if you run ARM on it, like you have to put like a special thing in it so it'll run ARM applications, but you could go through and it's like the free version, like the personal version is free, and then the next version up is like ridiculously expensive. It's like everything app related. They have like, oh, it's free, and then you go over that little bit and it's like $200 a month or something. But this is it. What it does is it runs in VirtualBox as opposed to the ADB thing. So there's certain things I've been able to do in Genymotion, especially like with Ear Agent, in terms of, let's see if I can run it here and hopefully it doesn't slow down my computer too much. There's certain things that run a bit faster, or I can use audio processing on it, which I couldn't use in the ADB emulator. So this is something that that I've been using for years, but they keep changing it. It's one of these things, like everything in the app sphere, it seems to kind of go from being free and well supported to they're trying to monetize it, and it gets much more expensive. But and then just running this, it's just a case of when you press play on the Android emulator, you could do that. So like all my emulations here are actually pretty old, but you go through there and there's available ones, and you can go through and download them. The same as the ADB devices, but that's what I tend to like to use. So let's go back to this over here. Parash says, you can customize native ads too? Yeah, it's like I think it's HTML based, and I've never used it. So MA, which stands for, what does MA stand for? Okay, I have no knowledge, no qualifications. Dude, you are quite the salesman. I have literally nothing because I dropped out at 16, procrastinating ever since. Is it possible for someone like me to app dev? Literally got nothing. Yeah, I mean, you obviously have a computer or a phone, right? Yeah, it is possible. Like, there's no, you know, nobody, when you, okay, so if you've never uploaded an app to Google Play, there's nothing in there that says when you're uploading an app, which university did you go to? Please upload your college, your high school diploma, or anything like that. If you could learn, then you could do it, right? It's not, it's, you know, that we put a lot on in terms of education. In fact, one of the biggest problems I have with teaching in general, I think about when I went to high school, the way they made it sound like if you mess up in high school, if you mess up on this test, if you don't get good grades, then your life's going to be in ruins, and you're never going to get a good job, right? And then you grow up thinking, I don't deserve to have a good job because I wasn't good back when I was like 16, when I was 15 or 16, right? Which is completely ridiculous, right? You have to be the one who does. Don't be someone who talks. Don't assume everyone else could do it. Be the person who does. Get the computer out and learn it. If you start doing some tutorials on Android with the mindset that I can't learn this because I don't have the requisite degrees, you're never going to learn it. But if you go into it realizing what it is, which is it's a programming language meant for people to be able to program, then you can do it, right? And you're going to start small. That's why we always start with Hello World, and the Hello World programs on every program, it just seems like so ridiculous. Like, just type in, open up Android Studio, type in Hello World. Congratulations, you created an app. And you're like, yeah, well, I mean, tell me how to do something useful. But that's yeah, you can. I mean, I started learning how to code when I was 25, and my degree was in history. So I came out here when I was 26. The only reason I got into computer programming was because they hired me. Someplace hired me, and then I had to catch up. And from that, but most of it was not training on the job. It was training myself because I thought, I want to learn this. And you may find that you find it fun. It's there's no, if you enjoy it, you're gonna do it. If you see it as a chore, and if you build something for yourself, it's a lot more fun. Like I said last night, going through and writing some Node.js script and uploading it, that was fun because I was doing it for myself. If somebody said, Eric, sit down and write this Node.js script and make sure it's done by 10 o'clock, and then it would have sucked. I would have hated it. But because it was something I was doing for myself, it was a lot of fun. Let's see. CordFunk says, do you ever do some sort of automated testing before you're pushing out a new update? Sometimes. So like a lot of the stuff that's in terms of like genuine automated testing, I've done it in the past where we have unit tests and everything like that. Me, not so much lately. I have things like I have the language games where I'm always updating them, and I'll have like some secret keys, so like when I'm running them in an emulator, I'll have some secret keyboard shortcuts that are not going to be on the mobile device because they don't have a keyboard, but I could go through and say, run this test. It'll bring up a secret form, and it will run through all the audio files just to make sure that everything's there. And to make sure, like, run certain tests and everything that I just sort of write by hand. In terms of using something like actual unit testing frameworks like Karma or Jasmine or, what is it? I'm blanking on the Java ones, but all the different test frameworks out there. I used to do that kind of stuff, but not so much anymore. Not for my own stuff. I just sort of put them live. So I'm sorry, that makes me less of a developer. I'm not the alpha developer. I want people to think that I am. Hey, can you check out my app and see if it's doing or needs any improvement? Yeah, let me know your app name. MA, you got $25. Buy a Google license. Yeah, MA, just even before you buy a Google license, just download an Android Studio, and find a tutorial. There's loads of them out there. There's loads of them who will say, buy my course for $500 or $20 or $10, right? But I'm sure you can find it all on YouTube. There's always somebody out there who will do like a good tutorial on there. And once you start getting, get a few short wins, like it's not like. One of the things I used to, when I was working in an investment bank, we used to joke that, like, because we were on Windows, right? And a lot of the stuff we did was GUI based. So it was like going to control panel. And so if somebody has a problem with an app, you go check their settings or whatever. And every so often we just bring up the command line window and just start typing, dir, which is the same as ls in Mac and Linux, right? Just to bring up like the contents, because they just were so impressed by that because they didn't know what you were doing. You just go do everything through the command line. only because it really impressed them, because it made them think we were super smart. And we used to joke about, I used to joke about that, because we used to go that, you know, just like, because they have this thing that they think that we're some sort of hackers or something, that we're just, and we're like, we're writing bank applications, right? We're like, it connects with the database, it loads things up, does a calculate. It wasn't like anything major, but they seem to think that we're like, you know, like we could hack into their accounts if we wanted to. And you know, so don't think that, right? You can learn it. It's like not much. Like I'll speak for myself. I am not super smart, right? By the way, nobody backed me up on that, because that would just kill my ego. Burton Dev. Oh, so Seahawk says, are app designers important? Yeah, I think so. I mean, without it, you can have the best code in the world, and if it's not designed well, if it looks bad, then nobody's going to use it. Yeah. So, and on the same token, you can't just have like really good design and bad code. But I think the designers they make a lot less than developers do. But I think they're much more important. That's just my opinion. Burton Dev said, for someone starting, I would think they should avoid the app builders and learn to code, as I've heard some of them, you know, take the rights to your app in the fine print. Yeah, I think so too. I remember when I remember learning Front Page Express, because I thought HTML would be too difficult. I mean, this was like ages ago, and once you start using HTML, you can't use those editors anymore. When I used Access a lot in the early days too, and then when I started learning SQL, it was like, I thought, why would I use SQL when Access is so convenient? But then, you know, there's so many things you can do in SQL that you just don't go back to Access. And the same thing with like command line, a lot of things, or the terminal. Like when you start doing stuff with it, you can't go back to GUIs. Like I know some people who use Git, some Git GUIs, like to do Git checkouts, and I just can't do it. I just know that I know the Git commands, and that's just easier for me. Let's see. Drupajati says, Google and Eric is there for you and your questions. Yeah, I might not be very good with actual like specific, like if you get a bug in Android, like sometimes I've had people send me stack trace errors. I had one person send me a stack trace error in Snapchat, and I was like, I can't debug this app. I mean, I'm stupid, and it was like I have 6 seconds to look at it, and it was but yeah, I mean, there's loads of people out there. That's what Stack Overflow is. It's developers helping developers. Have you tried Fuse tools? And if not, would you consider trying it now for the entire platform has gone open source? I don't know what Fuse. It sounds familiar. Why does that sound familiar? Yeah, I might. I'll have a look. I'm not sure what it is. Hassan says, how to work more people at one app project at the same time. That's difficult. There's a book. Sorry, I'm just talking about these books, but there's like, I told you when my first IT job, I didn't know anything about IT, but they had this learning library where they had all these computer books, and you could check them out for a couple weeks. And I read everything. But there was this one book called the Mythical Man Month, which is like a very famous book about software project management. And it talks, and one of the things it quotes in there is like, say, no matter how much you try, you cannot get 9 women to have a baby in 1 month, right? It has to be the one woman to do it, right? You just can't shortcut certain things. And the same is true in software. Like project managers think, oh, we need to, oh, you think it's going to take 6 months? I'll just bring in 6 people and we'll do it in 1 month, right? It just can't happen because it's how the division of labor. And it's really hard. Sometimes bringing extra people into a project slows down the project. And sometimes it speeds it up. It depends on how you could split it up. So let's say you have one person work on the admin site, one person work on the front end, one person work on the database, and if you could divide it that way. But then you have to have the good communication between them, and that could slow things down. So it really is, there's a lot there for that. So let's see. Mega Man 2016 says, buy the Google license first. It will commit you into becoming a dev. Yeah, I suppose that's true. Yeah, if you try to learn to code, every time you run into a stumbling block, you think, well, I haven't spent that money on the Google license yet. Mr. Neptune says, hey, Eric, is it possible for you to code bank transfers? Nope. I wish it was. MA says, if I have a game idea and no knowledge, should I learn to code first or learn Unity? It's kind of the same thing, right? Yeah, there's, yeah. Find my app on the Play Store, Fortitude Vocabulary Builder. All right, let's have a look at that. What time? Oh my God. Okay, we're running out of time. So let's do this really quick. Share my screen here. Google Play. Fortitude vocabulary. Fortitude vocabulary builder. Here we go. Okay. Cool. So you've got a few of them here. Cool. See, I've got a bunch of language learning games here too. I think I like the screenshots here. It'd be nice if you have something that says what it does. Dictionary to improve English. I like the fact that you have improve English there. Vocabulary builder to improve English. Cool. I like that. And how's it doing? Let's go with let's go to App Annie again. All right, let's go back. Look here on Google Play. Oh, okay. Mr. Neptune says it was it Warren Buffett who said you can't get 9 women to have a baby in 1 month? Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it was come from somewhere. Yeah, but it was a Mythical Man Month was a book on software, which I know they mentioned in there. Maybe they were quoting Warren Buffett. I'm not gonna remember. Mega Man says, Eric, as an app developer, what do you now know that you wish you knew 5 years ago? I think I wish I knew 5 years ago that I had to spend more time on the marketing, and that the idea itself was just, well, I mean, the idea itself was important, but it's the best project, the best code doesn't win, and it's and how can we get things in front of people? And doing stuff like localization was probably the big one that I did. Let's see. Oh, I can't find it on here. I think it's because Fortitude. Huh. Okay. Yeah, I can't find it on App Annie. So let's go back to this one. I'm gonna have to wrap things up here in a second. Rodrigo says, I also do many things CLI, but I use SmartGet GUI. This is a really nice GUI. I mean, I think we use one tree something. I can't remember what it was. Source tree. Let's see. MA says, hi, can I do a quick review of the software development course by the training room? If you could do a review, it could save me $2,500 and you could change everything for me. A software development course, review of the software development course by the training room. I haven't looked at it. I mean, I'm not sure if if I could do a review of it, I'd have to go through the whole course, right? Mega Man 2016 says, also, which websites do you hire your developers from? I did a video on this before. It depends. If it's a project-based thing, and I could go to Upwork for it. Otherwise, I use online jobs if I'm looking for a full-time person. So my team in the Philippines, we use onlinejobs.ph. But so you're finding somebody who works from home at a much lower rate because the cost of living is much lower over there, but you also, because they're working from home, you have all those kind of problems too. So Rodrigo says, Eric, 1 hour's passed. Yes, I know, I need to get going. Burton Dev says, Fuse is an open platform for Android and iOS. Let's see. Hassan says, how can I manage all think on that same project? That's very difficult. I would say have daily Scrum meetings so that you know what everyone is doing, and also they know that they're being held accountable, and that's a big part of it. Let's see. Eric, please check the course for me. $50. Let's say, okay, so source tree is also really nice. If you could check out this course and the contents and let me know if it'd be ideal. Let me see about that. I'll see if it's something where I have to take like a big course. I might not have time to do that, MA, but I always say do it. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? If it's a free course, what's the worst that can happen if you started it, right? You're gonna probably have to start lots of courses to find one that you like. You know, it's I think any course is gonna get, if you start from zero, any course is going to get you closer to where you want to go. You're not going to learn the wrong thing. There's nothing that's going to show you like how to not do Android, or they show you the wrong kind of Android. It's like it's going to get you to where you need to go. It may not do enough, and then you need, like, you go do a second course after that, but it's going to get you more to where you want to go. And if you find it's too complicated, then that's not the course for you. And if you find it's too easy, then it's not the course for you. But that's you know, I think that's probably the best way to do it, because I can't tell you which one is the best for you. Let's see, and then that's and then we got the AdMob one again. Okay, cool. So hey everybody, thanks so much for coming by today. Sorry it's lasted again an hour and 15 minutes. Thanks everyone for watching all the videos throughout the week. If you have any suggestions on topics, let me know, because like I said, I still don't have one for tomorrow yet. So something I'm working on. And anyway, that is it for this live stream. Thanks everybody. I'll talk to you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow on the daily video, and we'll do the live stream again next Friday. All right. See ya.
Taking this blindfold off to see what this life's all about. Threw my virtues to